I just wonder if the Leafs should prioritize grabbing a defenseman. I think you look at the MO and the track record of a guy like Brad Treliving, especially in Calgary, loves to build his back end. So I think that's the first place you look, Rosie.
Yeah, there's a chance that he does do that. I mean, it was nice to see Morgan Riley step up in the playoffs there, and you can kind of get someone to complement him. I think that there's a chance if they do get kind of a big boy off the free market or do some kind of a trade that they could have a really well-rounded decor for the first time in a while. We're looking at Luke Shen re-signing, and he's a type of player that I think they need on the back end. And if they can just kind of fill the holes and put those pieces together, and I do agree that a top four D man would really kind of, you step back and look at this and say, okay, we've got
Mm-hmm.
ourselves a core here that is pretty solid. We've got all our bases covered, and who that guy is will be interesting to see and watch, and if they can actually get something done and really solidify the back end, and then Brad Treliving can kind of check a box and move on to other things and know that he's got that covered. And obviously, an important piece of winning in the playoffs is that back end.
Honestly, I think it's paramount they go out and acquire a top 4D, whether it's in free agency. I think it's easier said and done via the trade route because I just think there's a massive change in the potential and the standard of a defenseman from say like 3 to 5, and I just don't know if the Leafs have that middle type player, right? Like I think you have some guys like Connor Timmins and Timothy Liljegren and Luke Shen I would put into that conversation. But high end talent like Morgan Riley, okay, considering the postseason he had, he's in my convo. TJ Brody, all in all, I thought it was a disappointing season. Jake McCabe's maybe that middling guy. I just think that in between is not there. And I think top 4 depth is what I think this team needs to strengthen up and bolster heading into next season.
Yeah, I agree. And like you say, you get a guy like that to kind of complement Morgan Riley. And Morgan Riley's, season was kind of average, but he fired it up in the playoffs. So we got to see
Yeah.
what kind of game he's going to bring this year. If he wants to have a standout game and really solidify himself as one of those premier defensemen in the league, is probably exactly what he's eyeing to do and what he needs to do to get to that level. And I think that complementing him with another top four guy, I think it makes everybody better. You look down the line at those Lilligrens and McCabe's and guys that you'd mentioned. I think they all get better if you can add that big boy. Otherwise, it might be a little bit too much pressure on them to be something they're not. And if you can get in another big fella like a top four defenseman, a Hannafin
Yeah.
from Calgary, for example, all of a sudden those kind of middle core pieces, bottom, handful of defensemen that aren't considered a top four premier minute guy can all of a sudden relax into their role and do what they're made to do and not be asked to do something that's maybe beyond their scope.